Okay, so hi, welcome back. I'm Janki, and today I'm joined by Kiran and Angela for a great discussion of the book, The Picture of Dorian Gray. So, hello guys, please introduce yourselves.
Yeah,
Kiran, go ahead.
Angie, would you? Okay. So I'll go ahead. Hi, everyone. My name is Kiran, and my channel is called Noob Readers. And I am a fellow booktuber, just like Janki, and I love to read books a lot. And I talk about a lot of different genres. The one that I am absolutely interested in are fantasy, mystery, thrillers, sometimes romance, and yeah. So these are the genres that I'm literally very passionate about, and I love to talk about on my channel. And today we'll be talking about The Picture of Dorian Gray, which was such a beautiful classic, and I can't wait to talk about it. So yeah, and I hope that you like this live and will subscribe to all of us. So thank you so much for watching us and keep watching. And over to you, Angie.
All right. Hi, my name is Angela. You can call me Angie, and I too have a booktube channel, which is Bookaholic Brown Name, and I also love to read books and talk about books, and that's why I created this channel. And just like Kiran, I my favorite genres are like fantasy and mystery thrillers, psychological thrillers, and all that. And never romance. I don't read romance anymore, I could say. And yes, I am so excited to talk about this book, Picture of Dorian Gray. I mean, in fact, I really loved it. It's a wonderful classic. And also, I watched the movie too because I was so inspired by the book. I watched the movie with Ben Barnes. And
Ben
Ben Barnes
Barnes.
is Ben Barnes is my on-screen crush. I love him because he's there in Shadow and Bone, the Darkling, right?
Shadow was right.
Oh,
Oh my God, I
so he
love him so
is.
much.
Oh, he
He's
is
a
in the
darkling.
movie.
Yes,
Yeah, he's the Darkling. I would love to watch the movie now.
watch it.
Thank you
It's
so much,
nice.
Angie.
So yeah, looking forward to this live. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah. So, yeah, before we go on discussing about this book, The Picture of Dorian Gray, let us have a little summary of it. So, it's about this guy, Dorian Gray, and his portrait is being painted um, by this artist called Basil Hallward, and he's a really naive, innocent boy. But he comes into contact with this person called Lord Henry, and he has some kind of corrupt influence on him, and he begins to see himself just in purely through the lens of beauty. So when he comes across this portrait of his, he's like enchanted by the picture, and he wishes very innocently that what would happen if instead of me this picture grows old, and that wish comes true. And that is how this book starts, and we follow throughout what happens with the portrait and with Dorian Gray. So yeah.
Yeah,
Angela, would you
very
like
good
to
summary.
tell us something about the author as well? Oscar Wilde?
Yeah, sure. All I know is that this is his only novel, I think, full-fledged novel,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
controversial, and he lived during the Victorian age. The Victorian age in was all about morality and chastity, and the way Oscar Wilde lived his life did land him into trouble because he was
Yeah.
accused of being a sodomite and put in prison. And in fact, his book apparently this book was used as evidence to show his
Evidence. Yeah.
acts
Right.
of
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, so so actually this is a very in fact lately one booktuber, her name is Swearingman. I don't know if you'll follow her. She's got an
Yeah.
amazing channel.
Shelly.
So
Shelly,
Shelley,
right?
yes, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
do.
Shelley made a video of all the banned books. I mean, not all the banned books, but kind of a tag video where she mentioned the banned books, and Dorian Gray is one of them. Which multiple times throughout history, this book has been banned by governments or schools, libraries, etc. So it's a kind of a controversial book, and and I actually I feel that by today's standards, this is very subtle, but I can understand during the Victorian age to come out and write a book
Yeah.
like this, which is
Yeah.
very provocative,
Right.
towards their morals and morality. So
Right.
I totally understand that. So I think Oscar Wilde was a very wild a person when comparing to where he was, this the time frame that he was living in history. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's all. And plays. He used to write a
Play.
lot of plays, which is
Yeah, he's a
famous for.
playwright, right?
Playwright,
Yeah.
yes. But
So,
considering this is his only piece of novel for long form writing, I think he did a fantastic job. Just beautiful. I had a
Yeah.
great time reading it in terms of pure literature, in terms of the way he writes it, but also in terms of the theme of the book.
Yeah.
mhm,
Totally.
right, right. So, should we begin with what we like, our general rating of the book? Yeah, Kiran?
Yeah, so for me, I have rated this as a 4.5 stars out of 5. And
Okay.
the reason for deducting those point 0.5 marks is just the representation of women, because it triggered me. Like the way Lord Henry used to talk about women, like as I progressed, I hate that guy. Can I say that? I just got so frustrated by his thoughts on women, and that's the only thing that triggered me throughout this book. And that's the reason why I deducted those point 0.5 marks for me, because I think that if I give 5 star to some book, it has to be perfect. It has to be perfect in every single way. But I think that I can totally understand that this was written during the Victorian era, and this is something like way back. And during that time, people had like different views about women, and I can totally understand that. But still, it's not something that we need to kind of accept, even if we even if we think that it was like okay. I'm like, it shouldn't be okay, but like that's how the society was during that time. So yeah, that's my rating for this book. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Angie?
I would agree with Kiran. I would also rate it out as, like, I would say four out of five, because one point is that even if there are hateful characters, you can still end up loving a book, right? It could
Right.
Yeah.
be full
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
loathsome
Yeah.
characters, but
Yeah.
still you end up liking the book because the story is so brilliantly told, or
Yeah.
and that this is one that kind of
Seriously.
a book. And Kiran is totally okay in hating Lord Henry. I also hate him, especially when he just cannot keep his mouth shut. He is
Shut.
always constantly talking. Okay, so and he was a loathsome character, but I think that was a necessity of the plot, because there is somebody who needs to steer him towards this, what do you call that, his what do you call that, pleasurable journey, or journey seeking his pleasures, right? My problem with this book was that, uh, initially, right, all these homosexual tendencies, it was too watered down. Maybe he was
Yeah.
too scared of the public.
Mhm.
So we had to have these supporting material and to read materials or articles from those time frame as to why
Mhm.
was this banned. Because when you read this book as it is, we don't get those references upfront on our face, like homosexual, all these. He just says that he pursued his pleasures, but what they are, we had
Yeah.
to read all these supporting materials that came out during that time. Otherwise,
Yeah.
purely. So I think that, uh, I can't blame the author for it, but I would have liked him to be more, not too subtle about it. It should have been more made more apparent. That was the word I was looking for. But I think that was because fear of backlash, and even with writing such a in a subtle way, he was still penalized
Mhm.
for it,
Right, right.
right? So yeah, I mean, this is a perfect philosophical novel, and it's definitely a classic, and rightly so.
Right, right.
Yeah.
About me, brace yourselves for the unpopular opinion.
Oh, you
Because
don't like it?
yes,
Okay. Okay.
I gave it 2 stars. Because
Oh
Really?
my
first of all,
god.
first,
Spill the tea.
listen,
Spill the
listen,
tea, Janki. Spill
this
the
was
tea.
this was just not for me. I think because it's totally subjective. You all liked it. I didn't because I guess as Angie said, it's a perfect philosophical book, right? And I think I've discovered that philosophy really isn't my thing. So that was my first turn off. Secondly, the point wherein we get to know that like Dorian has changed for the worse now, and the chapters that succeeded it, like I just zoned out. Like I couldn't just follow how Dorian was indulging in all the decadent activities. I just couldn't. And also the writing style was for me, I like had to go through like the same sentence 2 to 3 times, and it's good. I'm not saying it's not good, it's good, but not in a good way, in the sense I still wasn't able to comprehend things, some of the things, and I felt that I couldn't enjoy the full process of reading the book. So yeah, but apart from that, there are good sides also. First of all, I think the main character was Henry. Please, Lord Henry was the main character for me at least. Like
All
his
three of them,
character,
right?
yeah, like his character was very conflicting for me. Like sometimes he told like simple plain truths, and other times I loathed him with my full heart. And like I can't form my mind on how should I rate him. He was obviously very very cruel and corrupt and vain, but yeah, he was an interesting character at the same time. I love the character that Oscar Wilde built through Henry. Yeah. So yeah, should
Yeah,
we go
totally.
about the plot and
Yeah,
all the things? Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So
Who
let's
wants to
start
start?
off. Yeah. Okay. So you can see this all of my tabs. You see, and all the pink ones. They are all the things that Lord Henry has said about the women, and I've specially marked all of them so that I
Uh-huh.
can talk shit about him.
Hmm.
Because that was the moment I was reading this book, I decided that yes, when we'll be talking about Lord Henry, I'm gonna talk shit about him, and I need evidence. So yeah. Okay, so let's start off. I think we should start with Basil, because I think he is a nice
Mhm.
person, and we should start with people who are like nice in this book at least, because they're like so less people who are nice. I mean, I think that
Yeah.
it was so weird because I thought that everyone in this book was a gossip for some reason, and I'm like, what is that? How societies used to work in during that time, that everyone used to kind of come together and then gossip about something. And what was that whole thing about Americans? Like, what was going on? Why they were shitting on Americans in this book? Like, what was going on over there? What do you guys think about that?
I think during the Victorian age or those times, right? These parties were the places where information flew, from one place to another, what's happening and all that. And these are all people from the higher echelons of society. So they talk politics mostly, and what's happening with
Yeah.
this country and that country. So, and also there is this, if you read a lot of classics, even Russian literature, if you read, this is what happens. They go to a ball and this is what they discuss, right? When they're not dancing over a
Yeah.
drink, they discuss politics. Geopolitics is their most important topic.
Mhm.
And they talk about other countries and their action, and also uh, though during those time nationalism and nationalistic pride and loving your one's country is considered biggest virtue. So, and America was kind of a new upcoming power at that time, right? 1800s. So
Mhm.
obviously, morally they will, compare uh, the Americans, and a lot of, I think, a lot of literature written during that time. For example, even these crime thrillers. I was reading the Agatha Christie's *The Death on the Nile*, and even there, the name, the character, the girl, I forgot her name. So she's an heiress, and she is from America, but the rest of them are
Okay.
touring the Nile from England. So they, again, there is this comparison of how Americans are different from the British. In terms of British has more higher moral values and virtues, and Americans are more free in their thoughts, and they believe in liberty and all that new values that they brought
Yeah.
into the new world, right? So I think this is a very normal thing that they're discussing politics and
Right.
talking about each other. And when they talk about each other, you're also talking about different big houses, right? Like,
Yeah.
the lord and the lady and all that. So this is very important also in their.
Mhm.
I think gossips is one way of surviving in the um, society. I
Yeah, the
think.
Higher
society, high
societies.
society. Yeah, right,
Yeah,
right.
and
And
it
also, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Also, for
please, Janki.
all the ones who are viewing this, I think it will be a spoilery chat. So yeah,
Yeah,
if
Oh
you don't
yeah,
want
yes.
spoilers, yeah, it will be a spoilery chat, right?
spoilery chat, definitely. It will be
Spoilery
definitely a
chat.
spoilery chat.
So in
Yeah,
terms of
and
characters, if you talk about, I think I think this book, okay, like now I'm thinking it's a book of dichotomies, right? There are two extremes always. Like you worship, there is
yeah,
beauty, there is appearances and character, then there is beauty and virtue, and then you have Basil, and then you have Lord Henry,
Lord
and
Henry,
Henry.
right?
who can, and who has the bigger hold of this very young impressionable guy who has come into a lot of money. He inherited a lot of
Hmm.
money all of a sudden, and it is also a reflection of us humans, right? It is easy to be influenced by evil than by being good, right? So because Basil is also continuously telling or interrupting and interfering, saying that no, you're not right. Beauty is it's fickle, right? It will fade
Hmm.
away. So
Right.
character is important. Whenever Lord Henry is trying to negatively influence, Basil realizes that this is what is going to happen. He steps in, but in spite of that, and this happens in real life also, right? You always have good and bad influences, but when you're young and impressionable, it's easier to be swayed by the evil because
But
that's
I
more
think,
attractive.
but to be very honest, I think that I personally feel that Dorian as a person is kind of stupid. Like, that's just my opinion, because I think that
Me too.
because I mean, how can you just listen to one guy and then just blindly follow whatever that he has to say? Like, he doesn't even take advice from any other person. Like, he's like,
Mhm.
yeah, lord Henry is right. He just
Yeah,
takes.
because he is so Lord Henry is, first of all, he's a very deviant person, but at the same time he's eloquent, and even though he's talking rubbish, the way he puts it across, it's very impressive. And this guy is Dorian Gray. You have to understand, he is not a Londoner. He is coming. You see that in the beginning. I think somewhere it's mentioned. He is not a Londoner. He comes to London from somewhere, and he inherits his money whenever whoever dies, his uncle or somebody who dies,
Yeah,
or
he has
a
this
father.
very, yeah, he
Yeah,
has
his
this
father.
weird family because his mother was like wealthier woman, but she
Mm,
married someone who was from like a
mm,
lower class, I guess, and
mm.
and then he kind of inherited money and something. But still,
Yeah.
I think at the end of the
Mm.
day, what I think is that you as a person and everything kind of depends on you, how you think about things. And it's just that even if a lot of people tell you to do something, you'll not blindly go and do it just because you think the other person is saying that. But
No,
that's what
I'll
I
tell
never
you why.
understood.
But
I'll
Dorian
tell
I
you
think
was
he's
why.
young
really
and
stupid.
very impressionable at the same time. He might have like let Henry taken all of the advantage that he wanted. I think
Mm.
that he was
No,
young and naive. Yeah.
yeah, he was young and naive,
He
and
was
at the same time, what happened is when the moment he realizes that his actions do not have any real consequences. So, for example, in terms of whenever you are doing something wrong, it reflects on your body, on your face. It takes away the beauty. But he realizes that okay, whatever he does, he can get away with it because it's not him who is going to age; it's his picture.
yeah,
So you are taking
but
that
but
consequence away. So he's on a free rein, right? He is
that is
just.
something. Yeah, but
Mm,
Angie, that is something that happens way after this, right? I'm talking about the day. Do you remember the day when they go and talk in the garden? And
mm,
when he's kind of explaining it for the first time, his first interaction with Henry, and he feels that he has been moved. Like, he get this
Mhm.
feeling that yes, he has impacted him in such a way. Like, I'm like, dude, like, yeah, you're really young, you do not have the experience, but you have your brain, right? I mean, you cannot just
Uh,
follow people and just accept everything that anyone would say, right? You have to use your mind.
No, no, but if we really say it, the first time that Henry spoke to him, it was like a moment of awakening for him. That was not the
Mm.
point when he started blindly following him, right? Like, that was the point. And as Angie said, he was so eloquent with whatever he said, Lord Henry, and so appealing it seemed to even us as readers. We quoted his lines, right? We did not quote anyone else's line.
Yeah,
How impressionable that would be on Dorian. That was the
yeah,
thing we need to see,
Mm.
right? So yeah,
yeah.
that was. I wouldn't even say that the start. I think the major point where the things literally got turned bad for Dorian was after Sybil Wane's death.
Sybil died. Yeah, Sybil
Yeah,
died.
Yeah,
but
Correct.
because
Mm.
that
no,
was
but I think,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
but that's what I'm saying, right?
Mhm,
That whatever influences, even if you have influences in your life, at the end of the day, you
mhm,
need to use your own mind to think that what you want to do
No,
in
but
your
you
life,
can't
right?
expect that from a 20-year-old kid. He's just 20-year-old kid who is
I
not
mean,
lived in a big
come
city,
on,
who is
come on,
coming into. No, no,
Angie.
no. I mean,
You
you
can
have to.
say that. You
You
can
need,
say that
and
about
it's
a
not.
teenager, but you
I
cannot
mean,
say that
but
about a 20-year-old. I mean, I
but
feel that way.
no, no. But I think that because it could be a lack of the way he is writing it, but you can understand it's not one single incident that influenced Dorian. So
Hmm. Yeah,
I'm
that
sure
that's for
Lord
sure.
Henry's
Yeah.
influence is gradual. I mean, maybe while reading it, you will say that okay, it's that one incident in the garden, but it's definitely not that one incident in the garden. It's this constant badgering of all these morally. You feel it is some kind of ethics that he's teaching him, but it's not ethics, right? He is definitely trying to
mhm,
corrupt this person, and it's not just one incident in the garden. It's constantly you are in the light of this person who is showing you how the world is. Like you take a small kid now from the street, like a 15-year-old kid, and you show him like you take him to Vegas, right? You can't
mhm,
expect him to use his brain, but he will be influenced by the vices he encounters in Vegas, or you could take him to the streets of this Amsterdam where you see young girls standing on the windows. So they all will get influenced. That is an age. So you have to
Yeah.
understand the Victorian age 20-year might be a 15-year-old now. You
Okay.
get my
Okay.
point?
One more thing. One more thing.
mhm,
And in the beginning of this book, when you see Basil looking at, Dorian and talking to him, like, okay, so the conversation between Basil and Henry, when you look at that conversation, you'll see that it was Basil who saw Dorian first, and he got so interested in him because of his beauty. And then he
Beauty.
was the one who told Dorian that you're so beautiful, and it's your beauty which kind of giving me this feeling of happiness, and I'm so inspired by you. So basically, Dorian was a guy who had no idea that he was so beautiful. Like, he
Correct.
had literally
Correct.
no idea that he had such an impact on other people, right? But
mhm. Right.
it's so basically, I mean, if you think about it in that way, then Basil is the one who kind of dragged him in this world, if you think about it in that way,
Mhm,
because he was the
Mm.
one who said that I'll paint your picture, and he was the one who told him that you're such a beauty, and you're such a treat to the eyes to look at. You're such a beautiful person, and you're the perfect representation of youth and all that. So if you think in that way, then I'll definitely say that it's the Basil's influence that kind of corrupted him. Then he started feeling that way. I mean, if you think it that way.
Basil,
No,
I think
one thing is
Basil's would be
acknowledging beauty, and another is misusing it.
exactly.
Acknowledge, yeah. Basil acknowledged it, yeah. And also, I
Yeah,
think,
He's
but I'll
acknowledging him. Yeah,
yeah,
Basil is all about admiration because he's an artist. So
right.
yeah,
he's definitely a person who loves things of beauty, and he wants to put that in his drawing. But the moment Basil realizes that Dorian and the person that Dorian is, and the appearance of Dorian is deviating, he immediately wants him. He steps in
yeah.
with he is a moral person. Basil is a moral
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, that I know. But that's what I'm
Mm.
saying, right? It's not just Henry who
Mhm,
has kind of made an impression on him. It's just that Basil also had that impression on him. And Basil was also responsible for putting this thought in his head that, yes, you're pretty to look at. You have this youth that you're not gonna have. And because Basil's whole idea is that you're this beautiful, and you'll not have this beauty after some time. So I'm going to
Mhm.
capture it. I'm going to create a picture of it so that you can look at it and you can admire yourself as well. as well as all the people around you can admire your youth. So
Right.
he also had that impression, that thing. He also put that thing in, his mind, in Dorian's mind. So I think it's not just Henry who's like the negative influence here. That's what I'm trying to say. I think Basil is also someone who, I think it's just that Basil didn't knew that he was doing it. It kind of happened, but with Henry, he knew what he was doing. So that's the
Mhm.
difference between them, both of
I
them.
would say that I would still say that Basil was uh, a good influence in terms of he wanted to say
Same.
that, hey, I want to capture this beauty because beauty is, there is a brevity to it, your youth. Youth and beauty is, for a brief amount of time. So I want to capture it and, make him realize, he always make him realize that, okay, this is going to last only for a
But
few
why?
this thing. And he's
But
also
why would
telling
you do
that
that? Why? I
why
mean, just
not? We
He's
all
an
imagine,
admire
artist.
imagine.
beauty.
He's an
We all
artist.
admire beauty,
Yeah.
right? In our own way.
Right.
So I don't
No,
think
Right.
that's a negative influence. I
no.
disagree there.
Guys, we
Yeah.
have some comments. Should we read it along with it?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
So hi on books. First of all, hi. So he writes the picture of Dorian Gray. What a read it was. My favorite theme of the book were narcissism, hedonism, and a
Narcissism.
man's futile attempt at redemption. I had done a review of this book and would do one again. Oh, great. We'll like to see the review too. And he also comments another thing, and acha, he writes about the character. Dorian was impressionable earlier in the story, but later on he turned into something else, killing Basil, defying Henry. He had done stuff later which says he wasn't under anyone's influence. And like really, I applaud this comment, and it's so true. It's
I
so true.
I I slightly disagree. I slightly disagree because Dorian says that to Henry, that you have given me that yellow book, and please don't give that book to anyone because it
Anyone,
can
right?
change people's mind. So I just
Mhm.
do not think that Dorian says that he's responsible. He feels that he's not responsible, and I think that's one of the reason why he's like this. He's the kind of character who does not believe, who does not take responsibility. He thinks that it was the book's fault that he became like this. So yeah,
Mhm.
I slightly disagree over
Yeah,
there.
that
Yeah.
yeah, we'll talk about this, right? After Sybil Wane's death, that was the point
Yeah.
where I think he, after having the conversation with Henry, he began feeling that like, not he began feeling that, but we started knowing that he will not no longer have any remorse or repent for his actions, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
that was like the turning point of his life, and yeah, kind of true.
Okay, so let's just discuss her death and the cruel words Henry says, and I'm going to talk about them because I hate that thing that he said. I just hate
Yeah.
it so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's see. No, I have wanted to. Also about this thing about the love interest Sybil Wayne. I think no, it's like kind of obvious that he was not really in love with Sybil. He was in love with her occupation. That is the acting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
The
like in so
art.
many
The
passages,
art.
yeah, there's so many passages. It's like so clearly evident that he just wanted to see not Sybil, but maybe like Juliet or some other character she's playing, and that's so obvious. And like I knew pehle se hi ki, oh, this is not going to work. And but I did not expect her death, and that was kind of
I
very
don't
sad.
like it. I
Yeah,
I you know
obviously.
I just hate it when people kill themselves because someone, broke up with them or dumped them or kind of like they didn't got what they wanted. I just hate it because this happens in real life as well. And I just can't stand these characters. I mean you can say whatever you want, that yeah, this
Mhm.
person was extremely in love with them and they could not take it. But I'm like, how old are you? You're so young, you have all your life. And why do people even think that they can never find love again? Like,
Maybe
why? Like,
that's the
how?
reason. Like she was young, she
How?
didn't know what will
She was
happen.
young.
Iske baad. Maybe that was
Yeah.
the reason she did what she did.
Not just
Yeah.
that. I think not just that. So these are, she's coming from a family where, there is no dependence, right? They live from day to day and they survive from this meager salary. And she knows that her survival also depends on, if she marries a person like Dorian Gray, then, she can. kind of, I think she was also obviously thinking that there is security in being with Dorian Gray. That is taken
Right.
away.
Yeah.
That, but yeah, but at the same time, she was, I think, madly and blindly in love with this guy. And like Janki said, she's in that at that age where nothing matters, right?
I
You
mean,
go just
I
blind.
cannot take it.
Hello,
It's
Kiran. Have you ever been
annoying.
in teenage? Have you been?
No, no,
I
I'll
seriously,
tell you,
I think you jumped from childhood to adulthood.
I'll be
Like,
extremely honest. Yeah, I'll be extremely honest. I get extremely annoyed when come across people who just think that whatever that's happening right now, that's what matters. I just do not like these characters, and I mean, when I think about Sybil Vane as a character, I'm like, how
Mhm.
can you, first of all, how can you be in love with someone who you don't even know his name? You don't know literally anything about him, and you're in love with him, and apparently, yeah, like
It's
I
live.
mean, like, okay, so I was like, okay, so you don't even know this guy's name and you're in love with him. Okay, that was extremely weird for me, first of all.
Mhm.
And secondly, you're like, okay, so this guy is telling you that he was never in love with you. He was in love with the art. He was in love with your performance. He loved you because you're an actress. And you're still in love with him and you still want him, and you killed yourself for him. The guy who just doesn't care about
It
you.
was
I'm like,
never apparent. It was never apparent to Sybil that he
wow.
loved her just because of, yeah, her occupation. No.
And
he told
when it
her.
was,
He told
so
her.
I think the same reason that you gave now, Kiran, can be used to justify why she did what she did,
Yes.
because she
Yes.
was so taken aback when this guy revealed to him that I didn't love you, I really loved your art, and she is heartbroken. So
Yeah.
you have to look it from that lens also, because heartbreak is
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
not,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, but you cannot, like, I mean, just imagine the person doesn't want you. He doesn't even
Mm,
like you for who you are.
mm,
He liked what he saw on stage. So basically, he saw you. So basically, she's an actress, right? She was pretending to be someone else. So he was in love with that person. He
Mhm.
never loved the
mhm.
real you,
Right.
but
That's
you still
absolutely right.
want, yeah, but you still want
She
him,
didn't know
and
that.
you kill
She didn't
yourself,
know
and you
that.
kill yourself for that. Why would
She
you
didn't
Yeah,
do
know that.
that?
She
and that's a
no.
totally reasonable thing. Why isn't that illogical to you? I don't understand. I mean, that's a
It's no,
very
it,
reason to be
it's not
heartbroken, right?
illogical to me. No,
Mm.
it's
Right. Okay,
sad.
we
It
appreciate
pissed me
everyone's
off.
point of views, and it's great to have like two different
But
lenses, like three different
I think
lenses.
another thing is the death of Sybil in itself is not that important. The theme or the story, the flow of the story.
Mm-hmm.
What is it is, I mean, in the sense why she did it, rather than what impact that death had on him or not
Right.
have on him because of Lord Henry.
Mm.
Because
No
okay,
remorse.
let's,
Yeah.
no remorse at all. So it's not about why she did it, but when this happens, what Dorian did it, what how he
Mm-hmm.
acted around that situation is the crux of the story, I think,
But
where this guy Lord Henry comes in, and he was at the at the verge
God,
of also crying or whatever, but he said, don't cry. Don't cry.
Yes.
You love
Like
this
that
guy,
is the
don't
point. He
cry.
could have gone either ways, and I really hoped if Basil was there, I don't even know if that would have made any difference or not. But that was
Mm,
really that point that made Dorian very decadent
mm,
and
mhm.
very, what should I even say? I can't even describe Dorian because for me, Henry's like such an overwhelming presence everywhere in the book. No, it's very difficult to like
Whenever
differentiate Dorian
some
and Henry. Both are kind of similar. They are one and same person, I
Well,
feel.
well, I think whenever there is something wrong, Lord Henry somewhere materializes from somewhere and makes it more worse. Like it's
Right,
already
I
bad,
mean,
and he makes it
right.
I mean,
worse.
the lines that he used, it's just, it's so bad. It's so bad. He's like, just don't look at her. Don't feel bad about it. Just look at the beauty. Just look
Right,
at
that
the
about the
beauty
death, right?
of the
Yeah.
death.
Artful
And
tragedy.
I'm like, dude, what the hell are you saying? I mean, I was so pissed. I was like, who the hell is he? I mean, how can you just justify just someone just killed themselves, and this guy is saying, just look at the tragedy, the what should I say, the art of it, the tragedy. Look at it through this. lens of art, and I'm like, this dude
I
is
like that
sick.
expression. I like that expression.
I'm like,
We
I
also
was
have
so
one more
pissed.
comment.
Yeah, I was so pissed.
Okay, so Mehul Kukadia says, when I first read this book, I was overwhelmed and a blank slate easily molded and influenced. Right, that was Dorian Gray in nutshell.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just trying
Also,
to find that line that he
oh
says.
my goodness, you. I've also marked those things, but what like Henry, first of all, in the first few pages that we read in the sprint, right? He seems such an amusing character to us because of the
Exactly.
way he says, yeah,
Charming.
of his
Charming.
contradictory beliefs. But later on, when I went ahead and I saw some of the things he just said for the sake of saying. I mean, there are some things that he like goes on to explain why he came to establish that belief, but in some others, they're like punctuality is a thief of time. He just leaves it at that. Like, explain to me how did you come to that conclusion or that inference? So there were sometimes when I thought that Oscar Wilde just put in those sentences to make Henry's character look more like evil, decadent, cynic. Yeah,
I
that
think
was what I thought. Yeah.
I think what I understood about Lord Henry's character is 90% of the time he says whatever the hell he wants to say, and he doesn't even mean it. Like, yeah, whatever that comes into his mind, he just says it, and I think he doesn't even agree with whatever that he's saying. He does not do that in his life, but he takes people and kind of experiment on them. That's his thing, that he loves to give people some weird ass advice so that they do some weird shit and he can just laugh about it, or just see how he kind of influence people. That's his kick. That's
Yeah,
how he gets
there
his
was
kick.
one this very good lines or I don't know paragraph about the same that like described really well why Henry wanted to influence or have Dorian as his experimentation, and I really like the way the author articulated that sentence. I really like. I'm just looking for it because there are so many tabs I can't find it now.
Yeah, I found it. Now I'm gonna say
what
it.
what
Yeah,
what
our Lord Henry's lines.
problematic
Okay.
lines?
Yeah, problematic, very
Okay,
problematic lines.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's just cruel. I think the kind of thing that he said, it's just cruel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it often happens that the real tragedies of life occur in such an inartistic manner that they hurt us by their crude violence, their absolute incoherence, their absurd want of meaning, their entire lack of style. They affect us just as vulgarity affect us. They give us an impression of sheer brute force and we revolt against that. Sometimes, however, a tragedy that possesses artistic elements of beauty crosses our lives. If these elements of beauty are real, the whole thing simply appeals to our sense of dramatic effect. Suddenly, we find that we are no longer the actors, but the spectators of the play, or rather, we are both. We watch ourselves, and the mere wonder of the spectacle enthralls us. In the present case, what is it that has really happened? Someone has killed herself for love of you. I wish that I had ever had such an experience. It would have made me in love with the love for the rest of my life. The people who have adored me, there have not been very many, but there have been some, have always insisted on living on long after I had ceased to care for them or they care for me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he first of all, he thinks that this whole tragedy has some artistic thing to it, and
Feel good, yeah.
he wants something like this to happen to him. Like, he wanted someone to die for him. And I'm like, I'm like, what?
So
Sometimes I
I want to
feel
go
What?
ahead, go ahead. Sanki, go ahead.
Yeah, please.
sometimes I feel Henry like articulates whatever is in his mind. Like these are some of the things even people like us we can think about it, but we don't put it into words. And also by this time I was so much used to the character of Henry being like this that it didn't really affect me that much because I already knew that Henry is going to say something really shitty right now.
Yeah. So when this Sybil is talking about not Sybil. when Dorian tells Henry that Sybil has passed away, and then he's like,
Mhm.
"Oh yeah, it's very tragic and all that," and then he says, "Dorian, you mustn't let this thing get on your nerves. You must come and dine with me, and afterwards we will look into the we'll looking at the opera." Like, dude, this guy's girlfriend just died, love of his life apparently, and you're saying, "Okay, come, let's have dinner and go to the opera and all that." And I mean, like, that shows his insensibility. And then he justifies it with his, pseudo philosophical statements, right? And if you had married this girl, you would have been wretched. Of course, you would have treated her kindly. One can always be kind to people about whom one cares nothing. But she would have soon found out that you were absolutely indifferent to her. And when a woman finds that about her husband, she either becomes dreadfully dowdy or wears very smart bonnets that some other woman's husband has to pay for. That's the impression he has about women, like Kiran
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, that was really,
He's
I
the
Yeah.
didn't
shittiest
imagine
guy.
that way.
Shittiest guy. The
I mean,
misogynistic guy.
yeah, basically what he thinks is, oh, what only matters is your outer beauty and how you appear towards the society, but what you do, your character, the impact you have on others. Because later on you see that even, I think he had maybe a relationship with males as well, because there were so many men who were trying to distance him from himself, because they were
Mhm.
heartbroken, of course, because
Right, right, right.
everybody is
Mhm.
enchanted by Dorian and fall for him, and then maybe they have
Yeah.
a short fling, and then he, you know, throw them like paper napkins, like, so something like that. So you see that he is constantly living what Lord Henry said in the first part of the book. That's what he's living out in the second part of the book, I feel.
Yeah. Go
Yeah,
for the
yeah, yeah,
pleasures.
right, right.
And there is this
Yeah.
line that Lord Henry says about women, where he uses the word, shallow for women, and I'm like, dude, you're
Mhm.
literally the shallowest person I
Yeah,
can
right.
think
That
of.
was the ironic
I'm
thing.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, seriously, I'm like, you're shallow. Women are not shallow, please.
Mm. But I don't know if this is if it was if it's only Lord Henry, or whether this was a
All,
thing
yeah. The
in
general
that era.
perception.
I don't know, because I haven't read much
Yeah,
Right,
about
right.
classic Victorian era. I know that it was
Mhm.
very difficult for women as such, and it was prejudice
yeah,
against women, the society in general. But this
Mhm.
particular thought, like women being shallow, and always going after money, or people with money,
yeah,
these, you know basically they are saying that they can be disposed of, like if one woman is not there, there's
yeah.
somebody else. So I don't know if this is a common attitude during that age, but yeah, this is totally unacceptable for us, at least right now, when we are reading. It's very
Yeah, yeah.
uncomfortable.
Right now we are seeing it through the present lens, so it seems too problematic. And also the
Mm.
line where he says that women like to be dominated and something like that. I don't really remember it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me find it.
So
Let me
maybe that
find it.
is because,
But you know what,
like,
now
I'm
that
not
you
trying to
say this,
justify it. Huh?
now that you say it, do you do you know Jordan Peterson?
No.
So Jordan Peterson is basically, he's a kind of a neuroscientist or something like that, but he is an extreme right wing guy, and he says that women like, even now, like right now, he's a Canadian. He's like, women like being dominated, and they like being tied up and stuff like that. So there is nothing wrong in men dominating. He says that in one of his. So there are men who think like that even now.
Right, right.
Yeah, there
So
is this thing that you were talking about, that Henry
Yeah, yeah.
says
They
that
love being dominated and all that stuff.
he
Yeah.
says that I'm afraid that women appreciate cruelty,
Ah,
downright
yeah.
cruelty, more than anything else. They have wonderfully primitive instincts. We have
uh,
emancipated them. But they remain slaves looking for their masters all the same.
but
I
if you
couldn't
really
make sense.
But if you
Yeah.
really think about, if Oscar Wilde wanted to write a truly evil person, then he succeeded by writing Lord
Yeah,
Henry this way.
yeah,
If that was
yeah,
his intention, then
absolutely.
it was successfully done,
Yeah. I
right?
like
This
that
Yeah.
is the reason
totally.
I appreciate how he wrote the character of Henry, and he made, like, he personally for me, he made me hate Henry as much as I hated Dolores Umbridge. So yeah, that's a win-win for him.
I mean, I was just like, I was just kind of shocked, because in the beginning I was like, okay, maybe he doesn't mean it. I was like, yeah, he's just a charming, fun character. Maybe he doesn't mean it. And then as we
Mhm.
move further, we're like, no, no, Henry, that's not acceptable. I'm sorry. I don't like you.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I just want to talk about a little bit
Mhm.
about beauty and society, right? Like,
Yeah.
because it's because when he is committing all these crimes, generally his reputation is there. Everybody knows where he goes, all to these opium dens and the male brothels and all these places that he's visiting. And then, but still he goes to parties. He attends society events. He goes to dinners to all these people, from the higher echelons of society. He dines with them. He goes to their homes for dinner parties and all that. He's still accepted. And I think it's partly because it's mentioned also somewhere in the book. I think it's because people are people hear about all these monstrous things, morally deviant activities that he's, you know, doing elsewhere,
Mhm.
and then suddenly they see him and his face and in his innocence and youth. It is they are overcome, like, they just forget about all these things that he has done, and then they just are mesmerized by his beauty. And as society, I think we also do that, right? We give this uh this
Yeah.
what
It's
do you call that?
very famous with the
Yeah,
criminals. The ones that
right.
are beautiful, they are given lesser
We tend to
sentences,
forgive
right?
them. Yes,
Yeah.
we tend to forgive them. We tend to be more what do you call that, polite with them. You give them a pass even if they do the
Yeah.
most dreadful of crimes. Like Ted Bundy had women
Mhm.
admirers. He was the serial killer just because of his
Yeah.
looks.
Yeah.
Society
Right.
is ready to give them a
Yeah.
pass
Mm.
because of their looks. So I think this is also a
Yeah.
even though, you look at it from the way of Lord Henry and all, but society as a whole, we also are sometimes subject to this, right? We just carried away by beauty. Like,
Yeah.
it's very difficult
Totally
to think
agree.
about, we can't ever imagine Aishwarya Rai committing a murder. Like, because we don't associate that. When you think of murderer, that's not the face that comes on your mind, right? When
Right.
somebody
Right.
uses
Right.
the word murder,
Right.
you associate it with somebody ugly and scarred or whatever, like,
Yeah.
deformed. We never think the most beautiful person as murderer. So that is something that really made me think. Maybe this is also a kind of a subtext throughout the story. That's
Yes.
Yeah.
it is
And
a
one thing
finger
also,
pointing
Yeah.
at society.
yeah, and there's one thing that I think it's kind of accepted in this book, and that is that if you do bad things, your face will reflect that. And how is that working?
No,
Because
that is obviously that's a magical element in the story that we
yeah,
can just
because I
discard
was
it.
like, because as far as I remember, the people who are like in my life, I've seen this thing. The people who appear to be the most, normal or shy or silent, they are the ones who do most mysterious things. That's what I have experienced. So I don't believe in it that if you do bad things, it will reflect on your face. I don't believe that. I don't think that's how things work. And I think it's just and I think I kind of heard someone say that this was acceptable during the Victorian era, and I think maybe that was like how the society was during that time. So yeah.
Hmm.
Could be.
So
Could
that
be.
was interesting to read.
Could be. Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
But
Yeah,
I
and I
think that
also like,
generally this beauty being the erosion of beauty because of the sins that you commit, I think that would be like a storytelling tool that Oscar Wilde used to tell us this, to bring this theme of beauty versus virtue and appearances versus character, all these things. I think this is a tool that he used, that you have a picture and it becomes, or you become worse and worse physically when you commit immoral things. I think that is a tool that he used,
Yeah.
storytelling
Yeah.
tool, I think.
Yeah, it was
But
elemental. Yeah, it was
but it
elemental, and we see at the end how like the contrast is brought about. Like I really
right.
thought the way he built Dorian as this paradoxical character, like appearance wise, he was like nobody would have like thought of him being that decadent evil person. But at the end we see like why did Oscar Wilde choose the concept of beauty, and like how did he take that thing? So that was really amazing. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and how we had
But
this
yeah, it doesn't make
duality.
sense in it doesn't make sense
Yeah,
in real life, like Kiran said. Like obviously,
Yeah.
it's not like it's not like the moral person is the most good looking person. It's never like that in
yeah,
real
it's
life.
never like that.
Yeah.
Right, right, right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Never.
So okay. So now what should we talk about? Um. Okay. And when I was reading it, okay. So can we talk about like Basil's murder now?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, sure. Hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, sure,
when I
sure,
was
sure,
reading that,
sure.
when I was reading that, yeah, did you catch that there was this one line where when he looks at the picture, it kind of feels like the picture kind of triggered him to kill Basil. It kind of felt like that. Do you also think that way, or is it
Yeah,
just I'm thinking in that way?
no, it's definitely the picture, but I was kind of very shocked. Why did he all of a sudden, out of the blue, kill him? But I knew something was going to happen when they went into the room. Something is going to happen, but I think it's because the thought he thinks that the picture is the way it is because of Basil. And like Kiran said earlier, he is not a person who owns up to his actions. He is always blaming
Yeah,
somebody else or
yeah,
something else, like the book
yeah,
or the or Lord Henry or all these people around him. That he
Yellow book.
so
Yeah.
maybe he is blaming the picture, for all
Right.
the trauma that the moment he sees that picture, it makes him remember all the bad deeds, all the heartbreak he has caused, and he understands it is wrong, and then he doesn't want to own up to it, and he sees Basil there, and he says, okay, you created this
Mhm.
picture, so let me kill you. I think that was
Right,
because I couldn't
right,
make sense of that otherwise.
yeah.
yes,
I
yes.
mean, there is
Yeah.
this line that he says that's written that Dorian Gray glanced at the picture and suddenly an uncontrollable feeling of hatred for Basil came over him.
Mm-hmm.
And afterward it says that as though it has been suggested to him by the image on the
In
canvas,
it, yeah, yeah,
whispered
yeah.
into his ear by those grinning lips. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, that's one way of looking at it, as if the picture had a demon in itself, as if it's a negativity in itself that kind of fueled his hatred more. Like he was
Mm.
angry, but then he looked at the picture and he got more angrier. So I was like, that's a very interesting line.
Yeah,
And
actually, interesting line. And like you said, there is something evilish or devilish or maybe supernatural about that, right? We can assign that kind of gothic. That's where I think the story becomes a little
That is
bit
what is
gothic,
gothic also.
right?
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
element comes in wherein you
yeah,
feel that, yeah, it has a supernatural influence on this guy also. I don't know, I have never
yeah,
seen anybody discussing it, but I felt that. I don't know, you guys feel that there is
yeah,
some kind of
No, it was the
influence this
first time
picture.
I like now that I'm hearing you, I kind of feel yeah, maybe because I did not think it that time. Yeah. I'm just hearing it now,
Mm.
that point of
yeah,
view.
because I was like, okay, so yeah, because whenever he used to do bad things and then he used to come back and looked at the picture, and I think somehow the picture, when he kind of was looking at the picture, he used to get that satisfaction, I guess. And I think for some reason I also feel that picture was kind of triggering him in some ways. I was just kind of getting this feeling when I read it. I kind of felt like that the picture was also kind of fueling into his anger and kind of making him go in the negative path for some reason.
Hmm.
I think there
But
was
that
some
was also the reason
demonic
that
thing about.
at after a point he stopped like having that portrait with him, right?
Yeah, he locked it. He locked it in a room. Yeah. Yeah, I
Mhm.
Mm.
did lock him. Yeah, but
And
still he couldn't
obviously,
stay away from it, right? He still
yeah.
had to go and check it from time to time. He
Mm.
couldn't stay
Yes.
away from that picture.
Yeah.
Point. Yeah.
It's always in the back of his mind.
Fine.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it's always
Yeah.
there. He knows that. But I want to talk about also the kind of degradation that he falls into. He starts with mild things like ignoring a person's death, ignoring the death of a dear one, and then he indulging in all these pleasures, and then secondly, then nonchalantly he just commits murder, and he is like, okay, he already has a plan in place of how to dispose of the body. We have
Hmm.
we think he Basil was one of his dearest friend. The first one, in
Yeah.
fact, when which he comes across in London, who who takes him in and to the society, and he's readily able to kill that person without feeling anything, and then blackmail another person. You know,
Yeah. So
so
what do
so
you
he
think was that? How did he
what
blackmail him? What do you think was that? Because it was not mentioned, right? How did, like,
I
why,
think
what exactly did he
Yeah.
wrote?
I think he
What
had
did
a
he wrote in
relationship
that
with
letter?
I think he had a relationship with this guy and broke up with him, and maybe he was threatening, okay, I will tell everybody that you had a relation, and at that time having a
Homophobic.
homosexual relationship.
People were
Yeah,
homophobic. Yeah.
Yeah.
right. So
Right.
I mean, even
Yeah.
now, like we can't even think about even now,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, seriously. Seriously. Yeah, and I think this was the biggest clue for me, because in the beginning I was just
mm,
thinking that maybe Basil and Henry are kind of like, saying that he's pretty. Because I mean, if you think about it, if you come across two guys, and if I come across two guys and they say that this third guy is pretty, I'll not call them homosexual, right? Because that's not how our brain works. Because we can say that,
it was
yeah, he
certainly
got a,
weird. Yeah,
yeah, it
and it
was
was not
weird.
just once. Many times they were kept on telling. Even Henry was saying, "Oh, you're so beautiful. Oh, you're so
Ah,
beautiful."
Yeah,
ah,
I'm like,
right.
what's happening?
Yes, yes.
yeah,
I
but
was
I thought like,
at the point I even wrote in my book. I think कि Basil से ज़्यादा Henry is influenced by this beauty of, not influenced, but he
yeah,
keeps admiring and reminding that of him of that fact. Yeah,
but still at that time I was like, yeah, maybe it's not like that, maybe it's not about homosexuality, and maybe I'm just, maybe I'm just overthinking it. But then I
Yeah,
read this line where he kind of, he read, writes this letter and tries to
blackmail.
blackmail him, and I'm like, maybe he has relation with him, maybe this is
Yeah,
about homosexuality, maybe it
right.
is. Yeah, so I was like, yeah, this was the point where it actually was actually clear that, yeah.
And that actually triggers this question as to this story, and throughout the entire story, it's very subtle, even for people like us who are adults. We have to really
Yeah,
think about it and also read supporting materials and articles and other people's reviews to understand that, okay, there is a homosexual element in this book. And I'm
yeah,
surprised that people were calling for ban of this book. It couldn't be more subtle than this. You cannot write a book about homosexuality so decently like this. And I mean, I have, like, modern age romance books which are more explicit, like, than
yeah.
over the top explicit than this, and to young kids
Hmm.
reading it, right? I mean,
and I'm
I
like,
don't understand.
yeah, totally, totally. And I was like,
Right.
yeah, so when I came to this point, I went back and then I tried reading that again. And then what I
Mm.
understood was that Basil's love kind of, it felt like love, and Henry's felt more like lust to me. I'm like, Henry's just thirsting after this guy,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right. You're right. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. Correct.
that's what I felt. Yeah.
Basil
Hmm.
actually
Yeah.
like the person that
Actually loved him. Yeah,
yeah, and
totally.
this Lord Henry, yeah, like you said, he
Lust
is
in
all
disguise.
about lust. And oh my
Yeah,
God,
totally.
Yeah.
I think I have a
Yeah.
new literary, what do you call that, villain, like, that we can all hate on, right? Lord
Yeah.
Henry.
Lord
Definitely.
Henry. Lord Henry. And do you remember that Lord Henry's wife leaves him and he's so sad about
Mhm.
it? And I'm like, that's what you
He's used
deserve,
to
dude.
that
You deserve this.
person doing things for him, right? That is the only
Yeah.
thing he misses.
I'm like,
Oh.
you deserved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think there is a lot of things to think about in this book. If you
Yeah.
read it again, maybe we will take away something new. Like if you
New,
reread it
right,
sometime,
right, right.
Okay,
because
Maybe
ending.
I
Let's
will
talk
like
about
it
the
a little
ending.
more.
ending,
So
yeah.
let's talk about the ending now. Okay, did you see that ending coming or not? I personally did not. I
um,
didn't think this is how it's gonna end. I personally did not think it that way. I thought
After
someone
a point, I
else.
did. After a point, I kind of like did that is going to happen. Yeah.
Okay, we forgot about him. Forgot about her brother, James.
James,
Oh yeah, James. Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, and
James,
I was
James.
like, he could not even kill him. And I was like, dude,
Oh,
like,
that was sad, man. I was like really
that was
hoping the guy
sad.
who was
I was
shot was
hoping
not
that
him.
he would be dead by James's gun, but
Yeah,
Ah,
same.
that would have been so satisfactory. But
Very
again, that is a
satisfactory.
message that, life is not fair. Life is not fair. Life is just life, right? You don't get your revenge all the time, right?
Right, right,
And I
right.
So,
was just thinking that this this person, he's so fucking lucky that he died. Like he like his friend shot someone else and he died. And I'm like,
yeah.
dude,
That was, I guess,
he's
that
so
was the
lucky.
like final point when he like really realized that because of him, people like whoever he connects with, whoever he converses with, like they are
Dies.
being,
Guys.
yeah, like
They're dead.
nothing. Yeah, that was the point when he kind of realizes it, and then he tries to change himself by going to that village.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
Henry
let's talk about
again
that.
influences him that was not
Ah,
everything it was. That was really annoying, very annoying. I thought this guy had this sense that okay, I've done so much wrong, I'll change myself for better now. And Henry pops out. Ugh.
No, but I think that he did not change. He was just being a hypocrite. And that's what Henry told him. That
yeah, yeah,
you,
yeah. Correct.
yeah,
Yeah, huh,
yeah,
huh.
that thing with the women, right? That he
Hmm.
left, he, kind of
Right,
left her
right, right,
because,
right, right, right,
yeah,
right.
that entire thing, he kind of did it just so he
Hmm.
can feel that, yeah, he's
Good. He
changing,
can.
he's
Feel
becoming a
good.
better
He's
person.
And then
doing
he goes
Yeah,
something.
to
back and
feel
sees the
good.
picture, and the picture doesn't change at all, and he's
Change.
frustrated, saying that okay, so there is
Yeah.
no,
Right, right,
you know.
Yeah.
right, right.
So yeah,
Okay.
he was a hypocrite. He was a hypocrite.
Yeah, he was being a hypocrite. And at that time when he sees like no change in the picture, I was like, dude, you did just one thing. You have been doing bad for literally
For
so many
years.
years, and now you
Mm.
want now you want something to change with one thing. And I thought that what if this novel was, change in this direction? What if he started doing good things after that? And
Do we need
actually,
a redemption arc?
I yeah, that's what
Redemption.
I wanted. That's what I wanted. I wanted, like, obviously, but if you have killed, you have killed your best friend, you have somehow been involved in the, murder, or I should say the suicide of someone you loved, so obviously it's not gonna come, right? Redemption is not that easy. You cannot just, get it. It's not
But
that easy. But I would have loved if we got in that direction. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I was just thinking in that way. Like, what if we start doing good things and then the scars, start getting removed and all
but
that?
I
Will
think
it go in that direction?
I
Yeah.
think
But I think that is a
more
message
than that,
that
the ending was more impactful if it did not like it did not include a redemption arc, and that is kind
Yeah.
of like speaks a lot about the message that is being put forth. And if there would have been a redemption arc, uh, it wouldn't have made such an impact. I feel so. Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I agree with you, Janki, because if there was a redemption, then I mean, there is a. Let's look at it this way. So once you commit a crime, it's done, and the
Yeah.
effects of and consequence of it is there. It's already there. It's imprinted on your face or your body or whatever or soul. So that is a message, right? Once you are done, and then you know 100 good things, it doesn't take away this one murder that you have done.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
still guilty
Right.
of that. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
think he didn't realize that, and he tries to paint over it. It's kind of a minute plastering work that he was doing. And when he realized that's not working, that's frustrated, and that results in the end, like where he stabs the portrait
Tabs.
itself.
Yeah.
Right.
Stabs
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So I think, yeah, if it was a redemption, we would have been satisfied, but the message of the story would have not come across this strongly, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Same
we
was the
completely
case
forgot
with
about that Basil with
right.
Basil. Basil tried to say that, yeah, pray, let's start praying. And
Yeah,
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 yeah.
that entire thing happened, but he was just not in the mood. Like Dorian was
No.
like, no, I don't want to do that. Yeah, and he was just so angry that you're the one who created this, painting, and you're gonna die, and then he kills him. So yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of shows that he was not into redemption, and he just
Mm,
did this one good thing just
mm.
to see how he will feel or something, or will there be any change in the portrait, but there was not, and that pissed him.
Yeah. But you know what?
Yeah.
I want to think from Lord Henry's perspective once. Okay, so if like I don't know if he was intentionally doing it. I think that was his nature. He believed in aestheticism and decadence, and he was this believed in that it was very popular in Victorian age, this concept of this aesthetics, right? So aestheticism, where beauty was worshipped
Mhm.
basically. So I think he was a proponent of that, and he wants to see that in everything, and he was overly influenced. The message would be that, I think, if for a reader, would be that even though you might not intend something, you could badly influence or negatively influence somebody. You are
Right,
just,
right.
you think that you are worshipping beauty, right? It's one of the most noble things you can do, like, worship of beauty. But how it can
Mhm.
have a negative influence on a person, even if it you didn't intend it, I think that could be a message if you think purely
Right.
from Lord Henry's side, by giving him a little bit of a what do you call that, redeeming quality, if you're ready to give him that.
I think the only thing that I understood about Lord Henry till now, after reading this book and thinking about him a lot and hating him a lot, is that he just believes in the outside,
Mm,
what you put forward. He does not care who you are as a person. He just cares about the persona that you create, and that's what he is as a person. He does not like you for who you are. He just
mm,
likes you if you're a good conversationalist, if you can,
mm,
converse with him, make people laugh, and kind of, if you're that show off, if you can,
mm.
which I think is something that a lot of people do on social media apparently, because we
Yeah,
are
yeah,
just
of course.
trying. Yeah, like
Mm,
everyone on social media is trying to create this persona, and they're not themselves. They're trying to be
mm,
someone that they're not. And
mm,
if you think about it, then that's what Henry is doing, right? He does not like people for who they are. He just likes people for their persona. He loved
mm.
Dorian, and he used to give him so much advice, but he never talks about these rumors, that Dorian's rumors were like going around. Only Basil talks about it with Henry. So that
Mhm.
means that Basil actually cared about Dorian, right? And Henry
Yeah.
didn't care about Dorian. And there was this one
Uh-huh.
scene where Dorian tells him that I killed Basil, and what he says, that you do not have that in you. You cannot kill him. Yeah, right. And I was like,
Right,
and
right,
he
right, right,
and
right.
he genuinely thinks that he knows who Dorian is, but in reality he does not. He just does not
Right,
Yeah.
has he doesn't have
right,
any
Any clue?
idea,
Yeah.
right.
any clue. He doesn't have any clue
Absolutely.
about him. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that was
And
wild.
also the thing, like why I didn't like it as much was that I just enjoyed the first part of the book where is the ground is being set, and the last part of book, the climax. I just like that two parts, and in between it was just nothing for me. So like if that's not possible, if the book was just that two parts, it would have been great for me. But that middle zoning out part was
Mm. I think it could be because you know what, this book was. I mean, this whole story was published initially not as a book, but in a magazine or something like that.
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
Okay.
in a magazine. Yeah, in a
Yeah,
magazine.
oh
and it was much more intense and explicit and more offensive
Explicit.
than this. But when it
Yeah.
was made into a book, it was made more subtle, you
okay,
know,
okay, okay, okay.
less provocative. So I think while he was doing this editing, maybe it lost a little bit of the essence. I
Its
don't know.
essence,
I'm just
right?
thinking.
Maybe,
I'm just
I
thinking.
really
Okay, this is
enjoyed
nothing.
it. I think
Yeah.
I
maybe.
think I really enjoyed this book, even though I hate the characters with a lot of,
Mm,
counts of passion. I have a lot of
mm,
passion for the
But
hate.
that's the quality of the book, that he was able to
Yeah,
create such a character that like I could
yeah.
hate with my whole heart, and that's a commendable job, really. It
right,
Yeah,
really is.
right, right.
exactly.
You know, you can always think of Lord Henry, and whenever you're going to do something wrong, oh no, I don't want to be like Lord Henry. This is like,
Right?
you'll always think that. I think, and I think this preface, that preface that he's written on the in the beginning of the book,
Yeah, it's
that
really
was
good.
also not, yeah, but that was also not part of the book. I mean, initial copy. It
Yeah,
was
I've
only in the
heard
book.
about the preface. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It
So
was
here
kind of
there is
defense
this
of the
word,
book, defense. Yeah.
right? So there is a sentence that is, there is no such thing as a moral or an immoral book, books are just well
Yeah,
written or badly written. That is all.
badly written.
So
Yeah, I love that line. Yeah,
Yeah,
seriously.
he
that
was
is
actually trying to convey that, you can't consider this. I'm just writing a story. It's not moral or immoral. You can just maybe comment on the quality of the book, whether it is well written or not. But you
right,
can't say
right,
that a book is moral or immoral.
right.
And
Exactly.
Totally,
And
I
I think and I
totally.
think it was a dig on Dorian, because Dorian says that I
yellow
am
book.
like this because of that yellow book. I thought that this was a dig at Dorian, and I was like, dude, right.
So the
Yeah.
Yellow Book, I don't know if you guys know, the Yellow Book is actually kind of a magazine that used to be published in that time
Something related
frame.
to French. That's the only thing I
French,
know.
yeah, it is. It
Yeah.
was a Paris-based magazine, and all these kind of very offensive sexual
Oh,
content kind of book, like Playboy kind of thing for that
mm,
generation. I think.
okay.
I think that it's so maybe when he uses Yellow Book, he's referring to that. And then uh, Dorian actually starts collecting these kind of things. I think I don't know if it is
Yeah, and
written
there
in
are
this.
so many collectibles
Yeah.
that he takes. These
Mm.
Yeah, that was the
pearls,
part
I
where I
guess.
kind of didn't
Yeah.
pay any attention to the book.
And I was like, dude, why are you collecting these random things? And so I think, yeah, so that's what he was doing, right? Going
Hmm.
after every pleasure that he can find. But
Yeah.
at the end
Mhm.
of the day, all of those pleasures kind of were the reason of his demise, yeah, why his downfall, right? So I think this book is written to give this message that you should not go for your pleasures, right? At the end of the
Uh,
day.
no, no, not necessarily. Like, how can you say one shouldn't go for his pleasures? Pleasures are
Pleasures,
like
I
not
mean,
really the
negative.
bad thing.
I mean, you should
Like,
not live your life
indulge in
just
it.
for
Don't indulge in
indulge
it.
in it.
Like,
Yeah,
completely indulge
don't.
yourself in it. Yeah, that's
Exactly,
but
exactly.
yeah, they are important part of life as well.
And
I
also,
mean,
if
you
it is
should not
harming
only.
another person, you should be sensitive about it. Your pleasure
Mm-hmm.
should
Yeah,
not be a cause of pain for others. And that's where
Right.
Lord Henry says suffering. I don't have any sympathy for suffering. Like, dude,
yeah.
how heartless can you be? Oh, wow. Right.
Yeah,
We
seriously.
always come
Yes.
back to Lord Henry, I think. I think
Yeah,
somebody said,
I'm
I think he's
saying
the main
he has
character.
this omnipresent.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take one more quote from Lord Henry.
Yeah.
And he says that women love us for our defects. If we have enough of them,
Ah,
they will forgive us for everything, even our intellects. You will never ask me.
see,
Yeah. I'm like, I'm like, which kind of, like, who is he with? Like, how many women? I think the whole idea is that Henry has this box which he thinks that's how women are, and he has just this box, and he kind of puts every woman in that box, and he thinks that that's how women are. And he kind of, I
mm-hmm.
mean, if he takes some names and say that that women is like that, I could have accepted that. But the way that he
Yeah.
uses the word women and puts everyone in the box, that's irritating.
I actually
Generalization, right?
agree with yeah, I actually agree with something that Kiran said earlier that uh, he just says whatever comes into his mind according to that situation. Because
Exactly.
I'll read out something completely opposite to when somebody was saying that women worships or adoring about or something like that. He says being adored is a nuisance. Women treat us just as humanity treats its God. They worship us and are always bothering us to do something for them. So he has a problem with anything and everything. So
Everything.
anything you
Yeah.
Yeah.
say, he has a counter to that. And like Kiran said, he's just blurting out anything as long as he
Yeah.
can condescend somebody, like a moral person or women or generally.
Yeah.
He always wants to condescend uh, strength of character and morality, and he always wants to praise only beauty. This is
Right.
my
You know,
understanding.
I
Beauty
think he's the
is the
kind of
central
guy.
theme. Beauty and art are the central theme of the book. Yeah.
Yeah, and one more thing, that art does not shouldn't have any, like, art cannot have any meaning. It should be just pretty. It's there to please your eyes,
Uh,
and the artist is not supposed to put any hidden meaning into it. And I think that's
okay,
what
now
it is.
I have a point about that.
Never.
Okay, so
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Oscar Wilde was a proponent of aestheticism. That means basically art is for beauty. There should not be any hidden meaning. But
Hidden
if
meaning,
that
yeah.
was his intention, there was so many symbolism in this book, like the Yellow Book.
Yeah.
Okay, so if the yellow book is supposed to be yellow book and if it's not supposed to have any hidden meaning, he has failed there. The same with the picture of Dorian.
Hmm.
So the picture itself, that
Exactly.
it is a
It's
symbolist,
a symbol.
of
Yeah.
our soul, of our, the transformation of our soul when we are doing, when we are going through our life, right? So if he believed, if he really believed in that art
Hmm.
should not mean or should not have any hidden meaning, then he failed miserably because his own book is, this is just two examples. I'm sure if you dig deeper, you will find more symbolism in
Yeah,
Hmm.
here, where you have a lot of
totally.
hidden text.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
And I think Basil says these things in the beginning that are that I put my, I put too much of myself into this
Ah,
painting,
mm,
and that's why I don't want anyone to see it. So
mm.
I think that is also kind of contradictory
Also
statement
about
from.
the preface that we were talking about, the last page of the book says that the books that the world calls immoral are books that show the world its own shame. That
Yeah,
was good. That was good.
Where is
yeah.
that? I am sorry, I missed
Um,
that.
last wait, no, not last. Sorry, it's page number 250, not last
Ah,
book.
okay, okay. To page number 250.
I
Okay,
think that's something Lord Henry says, as far as I
Seventh
remember.
line.
got
Yeah,
it, got it. Yeah, got it.
yeah,
Thanks. That's a great quote, actually.
yeah.
Yeah,
Great, really great.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
the one great thing about, like, for me is the articulation. It was superb. Like the
the
quotes that
writing,
like
writing.
like I could have like I like no, it's not something that people wouldn't have thought about, but the way he put forth those, and with that those amazing words, they were really good. Because
Yeah.
I personally here I like read it out to some of my friends here, and they were like, "Oh my god, the quotes are amazing," and like I really like those. Yeah.
The writing was so pretty. You can definitely feel that, yes, he has talent. It's so talented. And
The
especially
articulation
when,
was amazing. Yeah.
yeah, and especially when I'm reading this book and I'm just hating the writing so much.
Because it's
I'm just,
very casual, no?
yeah, I mean, you've read this, right? The
Yeah,
writing
I've
is
read
so
it.
bad. It's just so bad. I just hated that. And then
Because
you compare it
those
with
two are
this.
different genres, no? Like I can't really say
Exactly.
we classic. It's a classic and
No, and
It's
it's
classic for a
style.
reason. It's
yeah,
classic for a reason. Yeah.
and I think, I mean, this is a tragedy of the time, right? It's because
Mhm.
I felt really bad for Oscar Wilde when I read his background because I haven't read much about him before this. Only when
Yeah.
you come across the book, then you research the author, right? So that's when I started
Yeah.
doing that, and it was really tragic that. He was a victim of his time. That he was, just like this guy who invented the mathematician. What's his name? Mm, Al,
Which one?
there's a movie based on him also, right? Algorithm. During World War II, and then he was persecuted for being gay, homosexual. Uh, so
No
basically,
idea.
even he maybe this book was his defiance against all this morality that's being thrust upon him, and during that age that everybody outwardly are like always all about morality, and you have to wear these kind of outfits, and you have to be married and have a family, and all these constraints and expectations of the societies on Oscar Wilde. At the same time, he was this person who has this homosexual tendency, which because of the society at that time, he couldn't go out. I think this book was also kind of a reflection of his frustration of all the morality that is being thrusted upon them, and he wanted to just write something against morality. There is also beauty out there. Even if
Hmm.
it is fickle, we need to celebrate it, even if it means the death of you at the end. Live and
Oh, we got
enjoy while
an
we are.
answer of the mathematician's name, Alan
Alan
Turing.
Turing, yeah, exactly, that's right. Thank
Thank
you.
you, facts ka dada. Oh yeah, you really are, I guess, because
I know,
you.
yeah.
Facts ka dada.
You just helped us with the
Facts
facts.
ka dada.
Yeah.
So I think this is also, if you think about it, it's just a
Yeah.
thought that came in
I
my
mean,
mind right now.
he went to jail, right?
Hmm. For yeah, basically for his lifestyle,
He went to
and this
jail,
book was
right?
used.
For
Mm.
yeah, yeah,
Oof.
yeah. This book was used as a proof that yeah, you say these characters are saying that this guy is so pretty. What does that mean? Who's pretty?
Yeah.
Why are there so many secrets in this book? So I don't know how
Mhm.
exactly was this
Yeah.
used, but I read that this was used and he
But
went
it
to
really
jail
was very
for it.
subtle because there were some things that I really got to know now through this discussion.
Same
I
here.
really
Same
have,
here.
oh, did
Mm.
this happen as well? Oh, was this the hidden meaning? I really couldn't like make out that that was the symbolism or the inner meaning or rational behind it. No.
Mm.
Okay, so what
Maybe
did
this
you
was
guys
kind
like
of his.
take away from it? What did you take away from this
Oh,
book?
Um.
for me, I think for me, there are a lot of takeaways. Like I said, if I read it one more time, I would
Mhm.
discover 100 more things, which are subtextual. Uh, but in general, I think that it is a lesson to the society
Mhm.
that, you know, uh, when it comes to beauty versus virtue, I think it's always virtue. And because the other side comes with a lot of cost of love, cost of friendship. And at the end, you lose. Anyway, you're going to lose, right? At the end, you're going to stab yourself. I think that's the message to take away. But at the same time, like I said, just now when I think about it, this was also because it was written during that time, uh, that era. I think it was also kind of a rebellious act from Oscar Wilde, where he wanted to put out something provocative and to make
Mhm.
people think about,
Right.
is yeah, all these moral values that were being, forced upon people rather than being organic, right?
Mhm.
Being all these homosexuals being persecuted, and I'm sure at that time in the Victorian era they used religion also as a basis to persecute these people, because
Yeah.
in the Bible is clearly against all these basically sodomite acts, right? So I think that would be my takeaway, two takeaways. But I wouldn't say takeaway, but kind of an enlightenment for me, because art can also be an expression of your frustration, and that's what Oscar Wilde did
Yeah,
in this book, I think.
yeah.
Oh,
I
that was
personally
very hard. Yeah, that was hard hitting for me. Like I just felt as if
See, this is what happens
yeah,
when you discuss. I also pick up so
yeah,
yeah,
many new things while we are discussing.
yeah.
so many point of
I
views you get. Yeah, right.
Mm,
That's very
yeah,
stimulating at the same time. Yeah,
yeah. I
that is true.
personally, I think my thoughts, the the kind of person who I am, and it kind of got strengthened after reading this book because what I believe in, it actually proved what I believe in. Because I believe
Mm,
mm,
in taking people's perspective but doing what you believe is right, and just do not blindly follow people. That's what I believe in. And this
mm,
is something, it kind of shows that there are people who are going to say shit that they don't also believe in, like they also don't do
mm,
that in their lives, but they'll go
mm,
and tell you that maybe you should do this, but it depends on you how you filter those thoughts out, what you believe in. So that's the first takeaway for me. And I definitely agree with Angie that art is subjective, and it's subjective for a reason because it depends on the person who's looking at the art, how he looks at it, what what kind of what I find interesting in a book will be completely different from what you find interesting in a book, and which is also kind of extremely clever. And that's something that this writer has done this. So I kind of really loved reading this book because of Oscar Wilde's thoughts and the way he created this story, that it was just so well done that I just fell in love with the art that this book is, that it's
yeah,
created. So yes.
yeah,
And I think now,
so
from now onward, when I look at art, I will not try to think about what the artist was thinking at that time when he drew that. I will try to, just
appreciate it
experience
for what
it
it
and
is. Yeah.
appreciate it. Yeah. Rather than, looking for the meaning in that. Yeah.
Also, I think after the discussion today, I feel also what can be said is it's kind of a message or a lesson for the youth also, because it, like, Dorian was really young when he got influenced. So maybe
Yeah,
somewhere it's kind of a lesson for people like us who are like of the same age, that like do not sway away by things that seem appealing for now, but really
yeah,
you'll end up stabbing yourself. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
yeah, totally. Yeah, you'll
There
end
are,
up.
yeah,
Yeah,
multiple takeaways. Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, just one last thing that I want to say, that what was he even thinking when he stabbed his own portrait, when he knew that that was his soul? Like, what didn't he say? Didn't he think that, yeah, he's gonna die if he do that? But yeah,
I think he
what was he
lost
even
it by that
thinking?
time, right? Completely lost it.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was
right.
like, yeah, right, whatever. Yeah, but I think I loved what happened, and it was extremely shocking. I'm like, oh, that's a great end. Like, okay,
And that is what
okay,
made it so impactful. Yeah.
yeah,
That,
yeah,
like
that was
that
great.
clearly laid the message for the
Okay,
readers.
So
okay,
tell me, guys,
Janki,
did you watch
are you
the?
going to increase your rating? Are you going to increase your rating now?
Maybe
Good
I
question.
think, yeah. I think, yeah. To also, the great thing about discussion, as Angie told, that yeah, you get to know so many things that you might not have like encountered while you were reading. So yeah, kind of it was now that I'm discussing it with you all,
But I think,
there is a
Janki,
good.
you and me have the same opinion. I think in terms of, in the middle, sometimes it was kind of nothing happening, kind of a feeling. And
Nothing
I
happened.
think those were the part where he edited out where all these indulgences were written. I
Right.
think there were a lot of
Yeah.
things taken away, so it kind of feels bland and feel like, oh, nothing is happening. What's happening? It's just
Right.
pages
Right.
for the
Right.
sake of pages. So I
Right.
think now I have a question. Are you going to watch the movie?
Yeah, sure. I
Yes,
want to.
yes,
I want to.
yes.
Yes,
You
watch it
Within
told
and
me
let
this
me
week,
that
know.
I'll watch
darkly.
the movie.
Yeah, let's
Exactly.
watch it together. Let's watch it together.
I love Ben Barnes, man. I love Ben Barnes. He's
Okay,
so.
great.
I'm
We can.
obsessed with him.
Where is it? Is it on Netflix?
um, I don't know where I watched it. I watched it in some streaming. It's not Netflix streaming, but some other
Okay.
streaming. I will
Okay,
try to
let's
find
find
out
out
and
and
let you.
then yeah, yeah, let's watch it again. Okay.
All
You
of us
also
can
watch it,
download it
Manji.
and watch it. Yeah.
Haha, right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
that will
because
be
he's
great.
in it, is in it, so I will definitely watch it.
I think visually, maybe visually seeing what I've read may like enhance my experience also, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Reading
there
it.
are a lot of differences from not lot of different, but there are some differences from the books. But
Haha,
plot-wise,
okay.
same. But obviously, when it comes to the visual medium, they have to make some changes to make it more
Yeah,
interesting, right? It can't be
yeah,
just like
yeah.
the book. So,
Right, right.
but you can just stare
Yeah.
at Ben Barnes and just sit there for 2 hours.
Yeah, but this
He's
was
so
such a
cute.
good book, right?
Mm.
I feel so
Yeah,
happy that I've read it. And I kind
yeah.
of feel sad that I've wasted so much time. Why didn't I read it earlier? Like, it was just so
Right?
much
Why
fun.
didn't I
It
do
was so
it?
much fun.
We have to read a lot more classics, I think, and they are classics for a
Yeah.
reason. Now I understand. Yeah.
Now I
Hmm.
understand. Same, same.
Right,
Seriously.
but at the same time, for like I've seen so many people, so many book reading people saying that like this book should be for a beginners, like the people who are beginning to read
No,
classics.
I
I
Yeah.
think
don't
No.
think so.
I don't feel it
I
at
don't
all,
think
because
so.
I who have read like some of the classics before, and reading this, I would not recommend it for the person who's reading classics for the
No.
first
No.
time. No.
Definitely not. Yeah.
No.
Maybe
And
a person in the
Maybe.
mid
furthermore,
range.
no, if you don't like
Yeah.
philosophical stuff, like reading about it, and
If you
that's kind of the person I am. So
if you
yeah,
don't get the subtext, then this book will be very boring. If you don't
yeah,
understand
right,
the
Boring.
right,
meaning,
right.
yeah. So
So I'm
And if
glad
you
I
don't
had
do
this
the
discussion,
research,
because I kind of
you also have to do the
knew.
research, right?
mhm.
Yeah,
Absolutely. You need to know a little bit of
Yeah.
the author and the time
Author
in which
as
he
well.
wrote this,
Yeah.
and a little bit about the classic era. I mean, the Victorian era. A little bit knowledge about all
Yeah.
that it is better. So
It
yeah.
enhances the whole experience. Yeah.
Hmm. Any more
But it
comments,
was,
or are we done?
no,
yeah.
no more comments.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So, is there anything
Are we done?
else?
yeah, I
I
guess we are.
think,
So
let me quickly look at the notes if I have left something out. Mm, I think we have covered everything mostly.
Yeah.
acha, for
I'm
the
sure
last
we can
thing,
talk
what are
about
we
Lord
reading?
Henry for hours.
I can talk more.
Basil and uh, crib
That
about
was
him
my
all night long.
agenda, right? Like I told you in the very beginning
Kiran,
that,
I
yeah, I'm
agree.
just,
I have no, Kiran. I completely agree. But I just wanted to give a little bit of wanted to take a perspective from Lord Henry's
yeah,
side. That's it. But I totally hate him. I agree.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What are we currently
Mhm.
reading? Like, I know Kiran is reading House of Earth and Blood.
Oh God, I'm so behind on my
I'm
reading. I don't
try.
know. I'm you reading that?
I mean,
Okay, my
I can't even say that I'm reading it because because I've just read the first 42 pages and I haven't read anything else because I'm so
It's
bored
okay.
at
It's
the
okay.
moment. I'm
What is
so bored.
happening at the moment, if I can know that?
I mean, the
World building
children of
or
children, yeah,
world
world building. The children are kind of dying at the moment and nothing is happening.
building? Right, 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 right.
Yeah.
I get it. Maybe something
um
like, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I have never read Sarah J. Maas, and I have no intention of reading her, so I have no idea what
Yeah,
you're
that's
talking about.
totally fine. I think those
So,
that coat, what a coat of thorns and roses, I
Uh,
guess. Yeah,
that
I think
was
that's
that was bad.
overhyped.
That
Oh, you
was
read
really
it,
really
right? I
bad.
did not.
That
I
was
just
really
read this
what?
bad,
one book.
man. A Coat
What
of
was that?
Thorns and Roses. The first book
Okay.
I read, the first book. It was extremely bad. I can't even think of anything that I read that was bad. That was this bad. Like literally, it
Oh.
was very very bad. This is my
Oh,
second chance, and I will definitely say last chance to this author. If I hate this book, I'll never read anything from Sarah James again.
oh, okay. Maybe it is for young adults, like teenagers. I don't know.
Yeah, it's an adult book,
Yeah.
and that's the only
It is
reason
new
why I
adult.
picked it
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a new adult.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mhm.
so I
Yeah,
am
she writes
reading
for
Kindred
YA.
right now.
Oh,
Okay.
I've heard
Uh,
so much about this book.
It's very good. Oh my
And
God, it's heartbreaking. It's painful. But you have to read it. Okay,
huh?
it's about a woman. This lady. She actually is living in the 70s, but somehow she time travels and she reaches the antebellum South during the racial the things happening
Apartheid.
in the
Yeah,
South.
yeah, right.
Yeah, not apartheid. That is in South Africa, but this is in US.
Acha, this is
So
different.
during the
Okay,
racial
okay, okay.
discrimination, yeah. So and then she meets these certain people and she goes through what the blacks went because she's black, so she knows what she sees firsthand what the slaves went through. So it's beautiful. You should read it. And I have this is my first Octavia Butler book, but
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. Okay, and then I'm reading the second book in the First Law series, which is Before They Are Hanged by
Joe
Joe Abercrombie.
Abercrombie.
Yeah,
Okay.
Joe Abercrombie. And I think I'm listening to some Agatha Christie. So I'm like,
I'm
she's
also listening to one book that is The
yeah.
Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. Yeah,
Oh
that's the
yeah,
one
how
I'm
is it?
listening to.
I want to read that. That's on my TBR.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah. I mean, I've just started listening to it, so yeah, it's
Okay.
okay-ish at the
I
moment.
like her. What
Yeah,
was that? The invite,
the
the
guest
guest list.
list, the
Guest
guest
list,
I
and
list,
there's
did
one
not
other one,
like it.
the hunting party. Yeah,
the hunting party. But I don't know if I've read Hunting Party, but I did. I know the guest list is something that happens in that island, right? The
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
sister
yeah,
getting
yeah, yeah.
married.
That
Yeah,
Oh,
Agatha
okay.
Christie vibe, Agatha Christie vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that book. Yeah,
right.
yeah, I
I
really
I
And
enjoyed
loved. I
it.
just
Yeah,
finished the
this
Death on an Island. Oh yeah, I read that this month again. Yeah,
how is
it's
I
it?
good.
want to read that. I want to read
It's
that.
good. I found a little bit problem with it. The texts are kind of very lame, but that could be because of bad translation because it is
Translation,
translated
yeah.
from Japanese.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
But yeah, it's a good read. It's a good cozy read. That's it. It's not a
right.
How are
great book
you
or
feeling
anything.
about it, Janki?
Me, I just started it today, like just 3 to 4 pages. I can't say anything.
Okay.
And I'm listening to In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. It's a thriller. I've heard
Okay.
many people have that book, had that book in their top 10 books of previous year. So I'm like, oh, let's
Interesting.
see.
Oh, what was that?
Interesting.
In
Which one
my
is it?
Wait, I'll just confirm if in my dream I hold a knife, I guess, if I'm not wrong.
Oh, okay. Okay. In
Yeah,
my
in my
dream, I
dreams
hold a
I
knife.
hold a knife, right?
Yeah,
By Ashley
yeah,
V.
I have seen. I've seen this book on Bookstagram.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah,
totally.
that's what I'm doing.
I
That's
love listening
interesting.
to
Okay.
thrillers. I have
Yeah,
stopped completely
yeah.
reading them. I'm only listening to it because
Listening to
there is this suspense that builds right when you're listening to it. I like it rather
Yeah.
than reading them.
Oh, Janki, have you read Fellowship of the Ring?
No.
The first book in. Okay, maybe yeah. And Angie, you have already read it, right? Or are you
Yeah, I
still
have read
reading
it.
it?
I have read it. I have read it.
Do you want to do like a discussion of that book?
I
Because I
don't
was
mind, but
planning
you
to
know
do
what?
that.
I don't know if you follow an erudite adventure. It's a
Yeah,
booktube channel by sister and a brother.
yeah. I think I do.
Eh,
Yeah.
Okay, so I spoke to him and he said that he is planning for a live stream. Maybe if you can join there. I can talk to him and see if we
Okay.
can all have a live stream for Fellowship of the Ring and have a nice discussion. It'll be
Sure.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Mm.
this live was so much fun, Janki, and I would love
I
to do it
know. Thanks for
again. I
organizing it,
mean,
Janki.
yeah, thanks for
No,
organizing it. It was
we
so
all
much
did it
fun.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so
Right.
much
It was
fun.
good.
And I'm
It was
happy that I got to hear a lot of different perspective than me, what I thought.
me
Then I
too. Me
made me
too.
rethink, what I thought initially about the book.
Yeah,
So yeah.
Right. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was
It
so
was
much fun.
amazing. Yeah. So should we call it a day then?
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's call it a
Yeah.
day. Let's
So
have dinner.
everyone who watched, thank you for watching, and I hope you had a great time, because we did have a great time. And
Yeah.
if you haven't seen Kiran's and Angie's channels yet, please go subscribe to it. They have amazing content, and yeah, we hope to meet you soon again if we plan on some collaboration. But yeah, it was great having you. Thank you,
If you
Kiran.
want us
Thank
to
you,
read
and
and have some discussion about some books, please let us know which books. That would
yeah,
also be
yeah.
nice,
Just
right?
comment down below, and we'll be reading that, and then we'll be discussing.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Cool. So
And
yeah,
please
thank you
like
for
this video.
watching.
Yeah.
Comment, share,
Thank you.
subscribe if you like it. Bye.
Bye
Bye, guys.
bye.
Bye, everybody.